Armed drones have played an outsized role in the conflict in Ukraine, surveilling territory, dropping bombs, and crashing into buildings. A fleet of inexpensive drones revealed the landscape in astounding detail, from slain Russian soldiers to fields pockmarked by shells and shattered civilian homes caught up in the battle. One drone watched recently as Russian troops crawled into a backyard to try to escape a Ukrainian grenade. Often the drones capture images of seemingly helpless Russian forces huddling in trenches before a grenade falls on them. Such clips have spread far and wide on social media in recent months, valuable propaganda for Ukraine and its supporters. Dramatic aerial video footage shared by the Security Service of Ukraine, SBU, on Telegram shows how Ukrainian forces continue to perform lethal strikes on Russian positions using munitions dropped from drones. While many of the drones used in Ukraine are designed to explode on impact, Ukrainian forces have also frequently converted commercially sold camera drones into weapons that can drop grenades onto Russian equipment and vehicles. In a Telegram post, the Security Service of Ukraine noted that the Special Operations Center of the SBU destroyed 6 Russian vehicles and pieces of equipment on the battlefield using munitions dropped from drones. The post also noted how Ukrainian special forces took out 5 Russian tanks. The number of Russian troop losses since the start of Vladimir Putin's invasion of Ukraine has surpassed 150,000, according to Kyiv. In its daily update, the General Staff of Ukraine's armed forces said on Thursday that over the previous day, Russian forces had lost 715 troops. This took its tally of Russian losses after 371 days of the war to 150,605, a daily average of just over 405. However, Ukraine's figures have noted a recent spike in casualties, with 1/3 of those losses occurring in the last 2 months. Russian troops are attacked on the battlefield by Ukrainian drones. The footage begins by showing 2 Russian soldiers being targeted by the drone, with a first bomb apparently injuring them before a second bomb also hits. The footage then shows other Russian soldiers being targeted on the battlefield, with a bomb exploding right next to one soldier, apparently injuring him. The footage then shows a group of Russian soldiers in a large field being targeted by a number of explosions, with subsequent images apparently showing many of them not moving, while one soldier attempts to flee before falling to the ground. The images were obtained from the ground forces of the Armed Forces of Ukraine on Wednesday, along with a statement saying, "The 108th Separate Mountain Assault Battalion continues to destroy the enemy." Meanwhile, the outskirts of Bakhmut are burning after a large-scale bombardment of artillery and tanks. Despite the fact that at the moment there have been no significant changes in the situation in Bakhmut, the fortified areas of the Ukrainian military are subjected to large-scale bombardment using cannon and rocket artillery and regular shelling of tanks. In the video frames, you can see the consequences of large-scale strikes on the outskirts of Bakhmut. As a result of multiple strikes, the positional area of the Ukrainian military is almost completely engulfed in flames. Moreover, which is very remarkable, the strikes were not carried out in the area, but along the lines of defense of the Ukrainian military. This may indicate that the new tactic is to gradually destroy the defensive fortifications in order to push the Ukrainian troops in a westerly direction. The video footage also shows the presence of tanks and a multiple launch rocket system here, which, quite likely, could carry out strikes. A few days ago, it became known that the armed forces of Ukraine began to undermine road and railway bridges, thus trying to stop the Russian offensive both on Bakhmut itself and in other directions. Today's most powerful shelling on the territory of Donetsk was carried out by the Ukrainian army using Czech-made Vampire multiple-launch rocket systems. The attack was carried out using a full package of rockets, most of which led to serious destruction in the city. As a result of numerous attacks by the Vampire MLRS on Donetsk, there is serious destruction on the territory of the city. It is known that as a result of the strikes, residential buildings, administrative-type objects, infrastructure facilities of the city, roads, etc. were seriously damaged. Fear that the attacks on Donetsk will continue today throughout the day. In the video frames, you can see the moment of the shelling of Donetsk by the Czech MLRS Vampire. As a result of numerous attacks on Donetsk, there are a large number of victims, and this figure continues to grow. In addition to the Vampire MLRS strikes, 155mm cannon artillery strikes are also inflicted on Donetsk at these minutes, which also entails serious destruction. Meanwhile, the Russian military has published unique video footage of ongoing fighting in Marinka. Video footage captured a first-person tank battle on the southern outskirts of the city. The heavy combat vehicle carries out strikes on the places of deployment of the Ukrainian military, trying to ensure the advancement of Russian troops in this direction. In the video of the tank battle, the tank can be seen striking various targets, probably working either on identified positions of the Ukrainian army or adjusting its attacks based on the current situation based on data from unmanned aerial vehicles or fire spotters. Ukrainian MP Sviatoslav Urash tells that Russia's military weaknesses have been shown during their efforts to take the city of Bakhmut. The city has been at the center of fighting in recent months, with Russia viewing it as a potential coup if they can claim the territory. But Urash is confident Ukrainian soldiers can defend the city because of Kyiv's previous victories in the war. He said, "The assumption was that Russia would defeat Ukraine in many places. That failed. So we'll fail the assumption that we are in a stalemate and we cannot win against Russia. We have won against Russia around Kyiv and other parts of the country. The Russians have ground to a halt. They cannot even take the single city of Bakhmut. It is irrelevant if the Russians take Bakhmut. The point is they have been trying to take the city for a year. They have the second biggest army in the world and they cannot take a second-rate city. The Russians will sacrifice a great number of men to achieve very little." While Russia has not yet taken Bakhmut, there have been growing fears in recent weeks that Vladimir Putin's troops could eventually break through. Yevgeny Prigozhin, leader of the Wagner Group mercenaries helping the Russian army, has called on Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky to take his men out of the city. He added that his fighters have encircled Bakhmut. However, a Ukrainian soldier released a video from the city saying, "Friends, at the moment there is no withdrawal of troops from Bakhmut. Fighting continues in all areas of the city. The 93rd stands and continues to perform the tasks assigned to it. The situation is actually complicated, but trust only official sources and do not panic."